and the national housing strategy. And for our provincial topics, we are doing international student MSP, international student tuition, operating grants, sexual violence prevention and support, accessibility through legislation, race-based data collection, and yeah, I think yeah, that's all. All the committee members have started reaching out to government representative to schedule a meeting between March 22nd to March 31st. Those will be our provincial and federal lobby days. And if anyone is interested to know more about what kind of things we are doing and the document want to review any kind of documentation, do message me, let me know, and I'll be happy to chat with you.
Thank you, Samad. All right, turn on to item 10, new business. 10.1, Student Union Space Campaign Letter. The motion reads, whereas Council passed a motion at its November 18th meeting pledging to support the environmental science and Bachelor of Environment student unions following their eviction from the shared common room. Whereas Council passed motion 2020-120904 at its January 6th meeting to launch a campaign titled #Students Deserve Space. Whereas motion 2020-120904 called upon Council to write, sign, and deliver a joint letter to the respective faculties and departments of councillors who voted in favor. Whereas the designated Council working group has drafted and shared the letter with councillors for review. Be it resolved that Council as a body approve the final draft of the attached space campaign letter. Be it further resolved that councillors who voted in favor of motion 2020-120904 sign and approve the contents of the attached letter. Be it further resolved that the approved draft of the space campaign letter, along with the appended signatures, be distributed by signing councillors to the respective department or faculty administration. Would anyone like to move this motion?
MBBSU moves.
MBBSU moves. Would anyone like to second?
History seconds.
History seconds. All right, the floor is now open for discussion. If you'd like to speak on this motion, please list yourself in the chat. In a couple more moments, if there's any discussion. All right, seeing no discussion, I'm going to move us to vote. Actually, before we move to vote, just want to note for everyone that the point of this motion is just for council overall to approve that the contents are good to go. For those that did vote in favor of the previous motion that we had passed, they're the only ones who are obligated to submit their signature. So just again, for everyone for clarity, this is just to approve the contents here and for us to kind of get started with this campaign. I just want to note that I am missing some signatures, so I will be expecting you guys to reach out to me afterwards. I really don't want to have to hunt you guys down, so please do submit. I'll link the form and everything. I will email councillors the PDF of the letter with the appended signatures once they're all received, and it's going to be the responsibility of councillors to take the letter to their DSU, deliver it to their department and faculty administration to be in communication and dialogue surrounding student space on campus. ECs will be supported by council in their negotiations with their departments. So please do discuss this all with your DSUs and share the letter on your social media with #Students Deserve Space. We're also working on an agreement template, and we're really just starting the campaign now today. So with all that being said, going to move to vote. I'm not sure whether this will be contentious or not, so I will first seek unanimous consent. If there are objections, then we will move to roll call voting. So once again, seek unanimous consent. If you would like to dissent, please object now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. I'm just going to post the student unions that have not yet sent their signatures to me in the chat, as well as the Google form. Please get them to me ASAP so then I can send out the letter. We can get this all started. Perfect. Now on to item 10.2, Board, University, and Academic Affairs Committee seat. Motion reads, whereas multiple of the SFSS board committees reserve one seat for an appointed counselor to occupy, whereas the council seat on the University and Academic Affairs Committee is vacant, be it resolved that council recommend that Serena Banks be appointed to the Board, University, and Academic Affairs Committee. Would anyone like to move this motion?
DNA moves.
DNA moves. Would anyone like to second?
Sack seconds.
Sack seconds. All right, so even though Serena is listed in the motion, for all recommendations like this, I do have to open the floor for anyone who's interested in motivating. So I will do a call for nominations 3 times. If nobody responds, we will go with the motion as it is written. If there is anyone else who is interested in being on this committee, then we will have to give time for people to motivate and have an election, I guess. All right. This is the first call for nominations. If you would like to motivate for this position, please make yourself known. Unmute your microphone, say in the chat. All right, this is the second call for nominations. And this is now the third and final call for nominations. I think just for posterity's sake, Serena, can you just say that you nominate yourself?
I guess I, Serena, would like to nominate myself.
All right, thank you. All right, and that is now the close for calls to nominations. Seeing we only have one candidate and that their name is already in the motion, we're going to move ahead and vote. Don't see this being contentious, so as always, I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Once again, seeking unanimous consent. If you would like to dissent, please object now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Serena. Board will likely pass this motion at their next meeting. Hopefully they don't have too much to talk about because, as you know, the board meetings can get very, very long. Or Jennifer. All right, so we're now moving on to our discussion items, starting with 11.1 SFSS IEC. The floor is now open for discussion. If you would like to speak on this item, please list yourself in the chat. Helen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Zaid. And I actually submitted this discussion item for the agenda because I, as some of you know and saw on Discord, I had a little bit of, I don't know how to say it. I just wasn't able to vote this election. And I want to bring it up now just to make it aware to everyone for what happened and what we could possibly do better going into the next year. So I'm going to take some time to explain everything. I'll try my best to keep it to 2 minutes. It's quite elaborate, all the details, but yeah, I hope you guys are okay with that. So let's talk about the situation. February 16th to 18th was the voting period. Now, I did not receive my ballot in my SFU mail on the 16th, so I just waited that whole day. I didn't receive anything by the 17th, so I contacted SFU IT to see if something was wrong with my email, considering we had that recent security breach. But IT tested out my email and they said that everything was good. So from there, I contacted the elections chief of the IEC asking for help, why I didn't receive my ballot, and nobody responded to my email. Now, the 18th rolled along and I was hoping the IEC would get back to me, but they never did. So on the morning of the 19th, I contacted admin asking for more clarity on my eligibility to vote and if something was wrong. Now, what admin told me was that a student is eligible to vote if they're enrolled in one undergraduate course and have paid all their membership fees, which is outlined in the bylaws, bylaw 2, sections 1 through 5. Now, being that I'm enrolled in one course this semester, I had already paid off all my membership fees with the SFSS, which were due on January 25th of this year. The only fee that I hadn't paid off was my co-op fee, which is due on February 19th, after the end of the election polling season. So after asking admin that maybe me not paying off my co-op fee may have affected the issue, I asked if the SFSS follows any cutoff deadlines or cutoff dates to student deadlines that make a student eligible or ineligible to vote. I was told by admin that the SFSS relies on SFU to provide them data on undergraduate students that have paid off their deadlines. Now, the SFSS receives an updated list of eligible students, the first of every single month. So whenever students have paid off their deadlines, the SFSS receives an updated list at the beginning of each month for who has paid it off and who hasn't. Now, while admin was kind enough to accommodate me and my grievances by offering to add my name to the list of eligible students after the elections were completed, I was also advised by admin to reach out to the IEC if I needed help. And unfortunately, the IEC couldn't provide me any answer when I had reached out to them during the election polling dates. Now, I feel that this issue is a mixture of miscommunication and maybe, just maybe, forgetting about the deadlines of co-op students. I also think that the SFSS, it might be unclear on which deadlines the organization is relying on to assess which students are eligible to vote. And I bring up this issue now so that we as council and the new council taking over as board of directors starting May 1st will be prepared enough to make voting procedures more accessible and thus mitigate for any issues that should happen next year with or without COVID. So here are the questions that I'm putting forward for this discussion item and what council could do moving forward. So number one, what questions should the SFSS admin be asking SFU to provide data of eligible students that also includes undergraduate co-op deadlines or any other campus-wide deadlines that does not coincide with the deadline of the tuition fees? Number two, what are the training procedures given to hired IEC members? I question whether the IEC was undertrained to the point where they could not answer an imperative elections-related question. Number three, should council send out a survey to undergraduate students that asks whether they had difficulties gaining access to vote this year? And number four, what can the SFSS do better next year to remind students of checking their eligibility to vote well before a voting season begins? Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Corbett, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, Helen, for laying out all the issues you had. It's very strange because, like, in my situation, like, I was a candidate, but I also hadn't finished off paying all my student tuition, so I was able to vote, and I've always never had that as a thing that prevented me. So I don't understand why you wouldn't have gotten the email ballot. So I want to check in with our support staff in the IC to figure what's going on with the membership list. If we're not getting a fully updated one through SFU or not, or yeah, unfortunately, I don't see that list because for various good reasons. So I'll have to work with staff on this, and they'll have to do the research and the outreach. Yeah, I'm sorry. And I also would like to know if other people had similar issues, because this needs to be fixed for next year. And for any future by-elections or referendums or anything like that, because it's all, as far as I understand it, it all fits on the same list. So.
Thank you, Corbett. Would anyone else like to speak on this? Yes, Helen.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you again, Corbett, as well, just for having a say in there from someone higher up in this organization, just to actually show that you care. Yeah, I have to say, like, council, we have played a large role in changing our governance system to make it more representative and just to make, we've done our best to try and make people happy. And we as council, we have influence to make some kind of impact. But the one thing that makes us more relatable to all students is the fact that everyone has some kind of right to vote. Everyone gets a vote to try and make influence. And when one person, who knows, maybe even more people weren't able to have that opportunity to vote, you don't understand how it feels to be invalidated under this society. And me being a political science student, this is something that it's a very, very it's an issue so close to my heart. So it would be good to have some kind of investigation done, and just to see what's going on there so we can be more prepared for next year, because I would hate it if any other undergraduate student was experiencing the same thing. They were excited to vote and excited to have some kind of impact in this society, and they weren't given that chance to make the impact. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, I'm muted. Oops. Also, do you have a direct response?
Yeah, and hearing Helen's point, I think that honestly, this is going to probably be a little bit of fact finding, because I just pulled up the MOU we have with SFU regarding how we actually receive student information. So we do receive it on the first of each month, and we receive it through the vault and in CSV format, and that's essentially what we use to verify whether somebody is a member in good standing or not. So we are kind of at the mercy of SFU at the same time. So Corbett brought up a good point about connecting with our support staff in this means, and honestly finding out what's going on, because I would really, really hate for this to be an ongoing issue. And Helen is 100% right. You pay money into the society and you should be able to vote. You should be able to have your say in the elections. And, you know, that's the way that membership are able to assert their will. I think it may have been a co-op issue, but Helen, then again, hearing that you were also enrolled in a course is it's strange. It's really, really strange. So this is something that I think we'll definitely be looking into.
Thank you. Also, just reading from the chat, Rachel says that he's also heard quite a few co-op students not being able to vote and definitely need to look into this. Now I'm just going down the list. Kyle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Zaid, and thank you, Helen, for bringing this up. I think this is a really good discussion. I hope other people also, well, can speak on it, because I think like this does call into question like how are elections going to be run in an impartial manner by an IEC or whatnot when we do, even going into next year, when we do split into where council has the power. How are all DSUs going to hold their elections to remaining impartial, to ensure that the votes of the of the council, the new legal bodies of the SFSS will get undertaken and whatnot, and also continuing on with the board if there's, and I guess it also sort of calls into question would that maybe be a reason why some of the referenda didn't even reach the minimum quorum of votes drawn.
Thank you, Kyle. Before I have you let you have your direct response, I just wanted to quick comment on that. So regarding the IC and conduct for DSU elections, I do believe that one of the ideas that we were looking into, even governance, and also in the working groups, the transition steering committee, was having the SFSS IEG be a full year, appointed for a full year, and have them, well, I don't know if it was for a full year, but to have them run all elections and by-elections. So that is something that is being looked at. So to have them run not just the SFSS executive committee elections, but to also monitor the elections of DSUs, since I mean, some DSUs do not have up-to-date constitutions, and we do need to ensure the election process for our legal board of directors. Also, we're going to let you have your direct response.
Yeah, you hit on the head with regards to the DSU piece. I can speak a little bit to about the IEC process this time around. It's the exact same as it had been for many, many years, in which the only function the board has in the IEC process is just approving them at a board meeting once. Other than that, the board has no contact with the IEC. The board was not involved in the hiring of the IEC. That is, if you check out our elections and referenda policy, we have a committee called the Committee for a Recommended Appointment of an IEC, and it's comprised of 2 staff members. And at the time, so yeah, one of which is our campaigns policy and research coordinator, and one of which was our transition manager at the time. So this one won't be a year-long appointment, but that's something we're looking into for like subsequent IECs as well.
Thank you, Asa. Checking the list. Helen, you may speak.
Yeah, thank you. I thought I was done speaking before, but I have to say more. I first want to thank, again, our leaders within the society, our leaders within the board of directors that actually are validating that this is an issue. I thought I was the only one, and to hear that a lot of other co-op students, thank you, Wei-Chun, for validating it. We're experiencing the same thing. I'm glad council is having this discussion, because we can't make the same mistake next year, especially after going through all of these changes that we worked so hard to do to make everything more democratic for students. And I just wanted to point this out there, I guess kind of tying into what Kyle was saying earlier. Because of the pandemic, and I'm a co-op student, so I have a little bit of knowing the inside scoop on things in terms of the co-op department. Because of the pandemic, there has been double the amount of students applying for co-op, because they want to work through the pandemic. They don't want to do online courses that will wreck their GPA. We have double the amount of students in applying for co-op, which means just think about how many co-op students, if this is the case, that co-op students didn't get their ballots for voting, just how many students missed out on the opportunity to vote. A significant portion of our undergraduate society. Sure, maybe they'll have voter apathy and might not vote, but the chance was not there for them. The opportunity was not given for them. And we as leaders, that is our choice, not our choice, that is our responsibility to give them that opportunity to do it. So yeah, this is just another call again that we have to do better for next year.
Thank you, Helen. Anyone else like to speak on this? Please list yourself in the chat. Asa, you have the floor.
Yeah, sorry, I know I put it in the chat, but it is quite quick. So I know that wasn't all co-op students who had this issue, which is good. I'm glad to hear it. I think now it's more of an issue of finding out like who exactly had this problem and why, if it was a technical problem, if it was an issue with the membership list we received, etc. So I don't have an answer, but I can say I know co-op students who didn't have an issue voting. So thankfully that was not the case.
All right, thank you. It's definitely something important that we need to look into, especially for any future elections we are going to be having. We should probably do this with urgency as well, considering that there may be, by-elections in the future. We don't know, and we should be prepared. If anyone else would like to speak on this item, please do list yourself now. I just had actually a quick question just regarding the training that the IEC receives. I was wondering, is there something, any kind of like documentation or regulations for how, like, what kind of training they receive, or is it entirely up to SFSS staff? If anyone can answer that. It's awesome.
Yeah, so it is outlined in the elections and referenda policy. Some of it you'll find under IP2, the appointment of the IEC. And then some of the other additional pieces is that IP3, IEC orientation. This is talking about how the IEC actually receives an orientation to their role, authority, and the society supports that are available to them. So anything is that like they specifically should have been like read up on are within that policy.
Check it out then. Thank you. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to comment on this? Anyone here who's had any issues with selections, getting the ballots, or any comments in general regarding the IEC? Please speak now. Yes, Helen.
Yeah, my question is what's going to be our plan of action? I know, yes, the board, Corbett, you can, work with Sarah and ask like what's going on, but is there something that we can do as counselors to look further into this? Or do we want to let the board do its thing first and then get more counselors involved to spread the word in some kind of like, I don't know, a survey, seeing if anyone had any access? That could be a good way to start. But again, I don't have any information on or knowledge on how to do it.
Thank you, Helen. Corbett, you have a direct response.
At first, I'd like to talk with Sarah and kind of do some internal technical checking first. It would be helpful if you do know other people that have had this situation, so we can compare people that have and haven't, because it's important for us to. But I don't think at this point we need to do a broad situation. Broad survey, because yeah, at this point I think it's just a little too early. But yeah, so for the most part, if you can send me any other people you've heard this happen to, and then we can use that as like a small testing group, control group or something, to then go to and check out if there's a technical, if it was something with our mail list or other issues.
All right, thank you, Corbett. I'd ask then maybe the DSUs here, you can take this discussion back to your DSUs. You can ask your executive to see if any of them had any issues with voting, and then you can bring it back to the board, and we can start with taking a look at that. But yeah, once again, if anyone wants to speak, please list yourself now. I do have a couple other items to get to. If you have any comments or anything you'd like to say, give it a couple seconds. Right, we're now going to move on to item 11.2, Burnaby Mountain Gondola update. Floor is open for discussion. Sure, Asif wants to speak on this.
May I?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So I know Gabe was the one who submitted this item, but he wasn't able to join us today. So I am here to kind of give an update and then also to talk about how DSUs and FSUs can kind of support us in the charge for the gondola. So a bit of a backgrounder is back in January of 2020, we actually had an open house. This was pre-COVID. It was down at the bottom of the very long stairs in Saywell Hall. I don't know if you guys remember seeing it, but we were actually able to engage hundreds of students and talk to them about the gondola. We have a report on that, and there has been huge support for it. So the most recent developments is that TransLink recently put out a memo saying that after 2 rounds of consultation, they've identified Route 1 as the preferred route for the gondola. That is the shortest route. It goes directly from Production Way University SkyTrain Station up to SFU. It has the best time savings, the most greenhouse gas emission savings, and overall, I think is the most common sense route for the gondola to take. This is pretty huge because it's going to cut off a lot of transit time for us and is going to be a safe and reliable method of transportation up the mountain when it snows or in the case of an emergency, etc. So essentially what is going on right now is that there is huge and I think very like district-wide support for the gondola. However, what is going on, and I'll be a little bit frank here because these are conversations that we've been having for quite a long time, is that there's a very vocal group of folks who live in an area called Forest Grove for whom the gondola will be passing over their residences. We actually had a chance to talk with some folks from facility services. And one thing that someone said to me that really struck me was that the gondola is, if you ever are not in, how do I explain this? Anyone who's seen the Bennett Library in the by Convocation Mall, basically, if you're standing down on the road where you can see the library, it's like 2 libraries high up. That's how high the actual gondola will be going over. TransLink has also indicated they're open to giving compensation to the folks living in the area to address any issues that they have with it going over their house. And also public transit in residential areas is not new. And there are ways that we can find ways to make it safe and minimize the impact on the folks living in the area. But this is a very long project and we're making some good moves on it. So the SFSS has been running kind of so far an internal campaign where we put out videos of board members talking about the gondola, but I think something that would be really cool would be to get videos and support from counselors as well. I know a couple of you folks have written letters. Thank you so much for those letters to the Burnaby Mail and Council, because they really do, I think, work to kind of share the student perspective on this one. And myself and a couple of other folks have actually been attending dialogues and different meetings with the folks in Forest Grove to kind of hear their concerns and find a way that we can be a part of the solution for them. Because I think in the end, this is going to really help to connect our community to Burnaby and to make the student experience better. Even if we necessarily won't be the ones to benefit from us, we will be able to hopefully see a better SFU experience for the folks who are going to be coming down the line. So the Burnaby City Council meeting where they were actually going to vote to approve or not approve the project has been delayed. Originally, it was going to be on March 8th. That has been pushed to a date that we do not know yet. However, we have our ears on the ground and we will let you guys know as soon as we know. And right now, the situation is that we're able to send speakers, but they've limited that. So the SFU President Joy Johnson will be going to speak. I'll be attending as well, and as will the External Relations Director of the Graduate Student Society, Matt McDonald. The three of us so far will be going and speaking about how this is going to be impacting the SFU community. Kind of is unfortunate because I think it would be better to let more people speak and to let community members attend the meeting and speak, but they've limited it. There's not a lot we can do about that, but what we can do is share our voices online. So something that I would really like to hear is some potential interest in making short clips as students, as commuters, particularly from folks who live in Burnaby, because unfortunately, even though this is a district-wide project, you can understand that Burnaby City Councilors need to represent their constituents and care about what Burnaby residents have to say a little bit more than the rest of us, which is kind of just how politics work. So that's kind of where we are right now. I hope I didn't miss anything because I think that this is a really cool and really, really important project. And yeah, I think videos are going to be a big thing. And also any suggestions that you have as to how we can get the word out would be great. We're trying to get some alumni as well, like SFSS board alumni and just regular alumni who really worked hard on this project as well, to submit some videos so we can get the word out, give students a lift, and get this thing done for once and for all. We've never been this close, and I think if it doesn't get approved now, I don't know when it will. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you, also. It's honestly quite exciting to see this happen. I mean, back a few years ago, it honestly seemed like a dream that would be getting our own gondola that's going to be going up the mountain. So it's really, really exciting to see this happen, even though we may not be here around to use it as students, but I know that I'll definitely be going for rides just to witness that. Also, it's quite high to be, that far above Maggie Benson and the library, quite a view. Looking at the list, Ryan, you have the floor.
Thanks, Dave. Guess I kind of had a question for us all about some of the concerns of the, I think you called it, was it Forest Grove community? I'm kind of wondering, in terms of talking with them and their concerns that they have. I think you mentioned safety. I'm confident the engineers who are going to build it will ensure that that's a kind of resolved and isn't necessarily going to be a safety issue. But what kind of other concerns do they have, and what steps can be taken to actually resolve those issues, if any? I imagine one of the issues may be noise. I don't know if there's really anything to do, and is, I guess what other concerns might they have, and are there actually solutions to those, or is it just going to be a matter of those kind of voices not necessarily, or those opinions not necessarily being the loudest ones or the most beneficial for the community?
Also, you speak.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ryan. And something I'll link in the chat right now is the report that TransLink put out. So a lot of the concerns like around noise, some people had concerns about like, you know, how high up it was, et cetera. And so there's been a lot of research and FAQs put out by TransLink addressing these issues. So they've done decibel readings on how loud the gondola would be potentially. They've talked about different technology that they'd be able to implement to ensure privacy, like potentially like frosted glass screens, et cetera. So there are concerns and a lot of them have been addressed. The issue, I think, about compensation has been a big one, which has been committed to. It's just a fact, a part of it is that this project can't be funded until it's been approved by Burnaby City Council. And until it's been approved and it's been allocated funding, then there's not really a lot of info on how much people will get in terms of compensation. I think that's part of the concern. But it's like, as I mentioned, it's like from bottom floor all the way up to 7th floor, twice over Bennett Library height over your house. And I'll link the FAQ and you can see a little bit more about the fact finding, because what happened with the consultations is it wasn't just online submitting a survey. They had open houses, they had stakeholders meetings, and they listened and took information in about concerns and stuff like that and actually addressed them in subsequent reports and releases. So a lot of things have been addressed. A lot of things have been listened to and heard. And I think that it's kind of at the point where people are kind of recognizing the benefit of the project and also making sure that the people are, you know, getting a fair shake, the folks who live in the community.
Thank you. Yeah, just again, sounds exciting. Can't wait to see it done. Just guess not looking forward to more construction around campus, but I mean, that's what we're gonna have to deal with to get something like that. If anyone else would like to speak on this, please list yourself. Give it a few moments. Yeah, honestly, construction beats having your bus slide down the mountain during winter, so I think it's better we just deal with that. Moving on, item 11.3, council general election requirements.
Sorry, Zaid, may I say one last thing?
Yep.
Yeah, so just to follow up on the piece about the videos, I would really love it if we could get one video per DSU. It's really, I think, a small commitment. It's like 30 seconds, just talking about your transit experience or why you feel like the gondola is important to you or anything that you would like to share to kind of put the student voice into real perspective. I'll be following up on Discord, but that would be like ideal, I think, to have like one per DSU to make sure that we're really representing the student body appropriately. So I will put out my ask in Discord. I'll put out a little Google Drive folder as well. And I would love it if you guys are down, even if it's not you, if it's a different person of your DSU exec or FSU exec who'd be open to doing it, that would be awesome. Is there anybody off the top of your head who may be interested in doing this?
Yes, Sandra?
Yeah, I know economics would definitely be down to do this. We did talk about it in our last meeting and we had quite a good discussion and we even sent out a letter in support as well. So I know that my executives would definitely be interested in doing a video.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anyone else? I'd encourage all of you here to take this back to your DSUs for discussion. Again, as also said, just a little 30-second clip to talk about the benefits that the gondola will have for you, especially looking for people who do live in the Burnaby area, as it makes it quite a bit more relevant and carry a bit more weight. All right, I think we are going to move on now. We're 3 items to go. All right, 11.3, council general election requirements. The floor is open for discussion. I'm just going to say a few things. So you all should know from my reminders, council representative positions are to be elected during weeks 7 to 10 of this semester per the newly adopted bylaws. We are currently in week 8. I've seen quite a lot of you, quite a lot of the DSUs have started their elections and have either application or nomination periods right now, so it's great to see that. But for any of you who DSUs have not started running their elections or have not put out notice, you need to do so as soon as possible. Just a reminder, though, that these elections do not have to be for all of your executive. It just needs to be the council representative. It does make it a bit easier to have your entire elections occur at once, but just for this year, we really do need to get all these positions filled within this timeline. Anyone else would like to speak on this, please list yourself in the chat. Sway-Chan, you have the floor.
Yeah, just a reminder for everyone, in the bylaws, it says that every council will be in their position will hold office from May 1st to April 30th. So technically, every council will end their term on April 30th. And the bylaws also say that it has to have your elections during week 7 and week 10. So you have to hold it between then. So highly suggest, and also give 1 week advance notice for election. So highly suggest, if you haven't done so already, please discuss it with your execs and hold your council elections, because otherwise you'd be kind of violating the bylaws.
Thank you, Wei-Chan. Yes, Ryan?
I had a question about kind of the expectations of counselors in kind of the new format, and whether there's anywhere in writing that we can provide that for people who are interested in the position, kind of want to learn more about what it would entail. And obviously, the experience that we have here on council, I imagine, would be different than what it will be kind of beginning May 1st. So I'm wondering, I know where that information can be found and if it's even available right now.
Well, to start, the actual responsibilities of the position, though they aren't as detailed as you may like, are in the bylaws regarding the responsibilities of counselors as directors. But aside from that, I'm not too sure if we have any kind of written documentation for what should be, say, put inside descriptions for the role, aside from what's written in the bylaws. Helen?
Thank you. I have a question regarding Transition Steering Committee. And I wanted to ask if anyone here, counselors, a board of directors that are part of the Transition Steering Committee, what progress has been made in terms of getting the counselors trained, new, maybe some of us who may get reelected again. What kind of training has been made so far? Maybe just a brief overview on that, just to kind of have an idea, if anything.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Wei-Chan. Wei-Chan has posted the duties, obligations of council. So responsibilities of counselors as they are described in the bylaws. This is a basis that should be used for writing the description of roles when you are advertising the position for elections. Corbett, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Helen. So I am chair of the the working group related to training and communication. And so our group has met multiple times and has been brainstorming lists of about different topics that would be covered throughout the board year or the council year for training. Our next steps would be to meet with the board organizer and support staff around orientation and planning that out, how it worked, especially with an executive committee orientation, a council orientation overall, and what that would kind of look like, because it's going to be different than it would have been in normal board years, because there's significantly more students, significantly more student members. Additionally, kind of in tangent to it, I've also been working with the board organizer around exploring a tool around board management, like a software portal. And we have been exploring multiple solutions out there and have been shortlisting, and we'll be setting up demos pretty soon. In fact, Gabriel is here he'll be making an announcement later about that. Because he'd like to get council member feedback on what they think will be useful for features and such and usability. So that's where we're at right now. My particular working group will be meeting again soon. I just had, because of the collective bargaining took a significant amount of focus over the last 2 weeks, I wasn't able to hold a meeting. And then we'll be getting going again, and hopefully we'll have our goal will be have something for you by the end of March.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Corbett. Ryan, you have the floor.
Thanks, Zaid, and thanks, Chen, for posting those the duties, and kind of on that point about kind of this is the list of duties that we have for a counselor. I know, but I think about kind of at least for the group that I represent, kind of one of the main things that would determine somebody's involvement or kind of whether they'd be able to is the time commitment. I know we talked about council meetings being longer in the new council structure, and would they be more frequent? I remember hearing something about 3 hours, but don't know if that's actually been set. And then another piece related to counselor compensation. I'm wondering if that's one, something that's been set, or two, if it's something we can even advertise in our counselor position elections. Thanks.
Thank you. Going to let Corbett have his direct response.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, interesting enough, that was what I was going to present on today, Ryan, about the proposal I'll be pitching to the board about council and executive committee compensation. It ties in with expected hours and things like that. I pulled it off last minute because I just need to fine tune the briefing note. It's quite dense, and I wanted to submit that to council members through Discord and email to give you enough time to go through it all and have a more fruitful discussion at the next meeting. And so because nothing's been specifically passed in policy yet, I don't. It wouldn't be great for me just to send out numbers now, but hopefully I'll have that soon.
Thank you, Corbett. Looking forward to having that discussion. Wei Chen, you have a direct response.
Yeah, in terms of time commitment, I think you can expect like what the current board is doing right now. So bi-weekly 3-hour board meetings, and then additionally required by the bylaws that council have to sit on at least one committee. So you have those committee meetings as well. They might be weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, depending on when the committee what the committee decides. So those are like kind of the expectations, I guess, in time commitment. So yeah.
Thank you, Wei Chen. Just going up the list. Gabriel, you could give your announcement now if you'd like to, since we already did discuss it a little bit.
Sure. I wanted to talk about this topic specifically. I totally hear where this body is coming from in terms of what it's going to look like over the next 2 months. I see, and I thought this would be a good time to talk about my position and how I understand my role here in facilitating this transition, in helping with this orientation, in helping with all orientations going forward. And so, hiring my position from my perspective was a way of solving this problem, not just today, but at a structural level going forward for the good of the entire society and the membership. So I am here to facilitate that orientation. I am here to be a service to you folks in the future. And I am here to empower the representatives of the student society to bring forward the mandates and carry out the mandates that they were elected to follow. So, I believe internal democracy is extremely, extremely important for the society. And I definitely see myself as being in service to that democratic spirit. So I can just jump forward with the announcement now, switching. One of the ways that we want to do that, make this work better in the future, is creating a more streamlined way of distributing minutes and agendas, and tracking those documents so that all of you have access to everything you need at the touch of a button in this wonderful modern age, so that you can, come to every meeting with all the information that you need to make decisions in hand. So I don't know, Zaid, if you have had, if keeping you up at night is things like, oh, did I miss an agenda item that was submitted to me? Oh, if that is something that's keeping you up at night, if it's stressing you out, well, we want to solve those problems. So we're pursuing the purchase of a program that's going to help facilitate that. There's several different board management professional programs used by nonprofit societies to facilitate this. And we are just now at the point, we've shortlisted about 5 different possible programs for this, 5 or 6. We are going to be sitting down with sales reps from these companies in the next 2 weeks. And I wanted to invite as many of you as might be interested, as many as possible, to accompany us in that. I think that your perspective as students is number 1, crucial to making sure that this is a success and that you get what you need. And 2, I had a second thing, I've forgotten what it was. Oh, taking the load off Corbett, because Corbett is the only elected person who's coming to these sales pitches with these reps. And so it would be really helpful to have more perspectives than just Corbett's. Corbett's working very hard, and it'd be great if Corbett could take time off doing contract negotiations with QP, doing all sorts of different stuff. So it'd be excellent to have more folks sharing that load. So to that end, is anybody interested in sitting down with some sales reps? Do you want to put your name in the chat? I'll put my email in the chat. It's a pretty exciting opportunity to sit down and, talk to some, very knowledgeable people about how boards work, how they're structured. Is there anybody who would be interested in that? Shoot me an email.
All right, thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, so everyone, his email's there. I'm definitely going to look into attending these sit downs to see what kind of software is available out there.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah.
So we might be sitting down with somebody tomorrow too. So get back to me as ASAP. There's some, I can let you in on the process thus far as well. There's some, we've got questions started out. We kind of went through all the bylaws, picked out what was important. All the policies, picked out what was important for this process. So we, dotted our T's and crossed our I's and what have you. And yeah, so let me know, get in contact with me, and then let's talk some more, because there's a little bit of filling out to do there.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, as chair, there's been a lot of times where I've been missing some things like regrets or items. So it's nice to see that we're looking at some kind of software to organize everything, streamline everything. It'll make it a lot easier for council's next chair and for committee chairs as well. So if you would like to be involved in this process, please do reach out to boardorganizer@sfss.ca as soon as possible. We do want to have consultation. So those of you who are looking to continue with the board, with council for the next year, this is definitely directly going to affect you. So do you have your say? Yeah, looking in the chat, is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to our next item. Just as Wei-Chun said, thank you, Gabriel, and also welcome to council. This is your first meeting, and yeah, it is great to see you. Great to have another team member at the SFSS, and we all look forward to working with you more and having you working at our meetings and everything. Oh, did I miss Helen? Sorry, Helen. Oh, the direct responses, I think. All right, Helen, you may speak on this item now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I know I've been listing myself way too much during this meeting, so I thought, oh, just leave it off to the side. But I was just asking for some clarity. Oh yeah, and thank you, Wachin, for catching it. I have to give you a shout out. Just some clarity. So Corbett was gonna do a presentation today, and it's related to the transition steering committee and our roles in council, or is it solely just budget consultation? Because I'm wondering, and just being mindful of the time, if it's really important to cover. It was just the financials. Okay, I was going to ask to like move to extend the meeting to hear the presentation, but if it's not necessarily related too importantly on council roles for the next term, then we can always table it for the next meeting. Thanks for the clarity.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. It does seem that we got a little bit off track from the discussion item. So we did start talking about our financials and whatnot. The presentation was on budget consultation, so it was regarding finances for the board's next year, but it has been changed to a briefing note and discussion at our next meeting. So you can all expect to get an email from Corbett with that briefing notes. Please do make sure to read it thoroughly and be prepared for discussion at our next meeting. Since this item's been exhausted here, I don't see anybody else who would like to speak. And seeing that we are at 5:59 p.m., which brings us to the end of our meeting, I will move to postpone items 11.4 student cybersecurity and 11.5 team name change working group to our next meeting on the 17th. If it's agreeable with everyone, we will be postponing these two items. All right, we are now finished with item 11. We're on to item 12, attachments. I'm not sure why I'm reading out the attachments here.
Sorry, Zaid, mind if I comment on the postponement?
Yes, Ryan.
If I was just given the opportunity to address the second discussion item, obviously we don't have time for discussion, but I can frame it as more of an announcement just because it's more time sensitive than the 2 weeks, or potentially is.
There's no objections, I'll allow that.
Awesome. So I guess kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about, and in 2 weeks we can discuss it more if it gets pushed to then. But obviously the athletics team over the summer removed the name, and kind of since then they began a working group in order to find a new name. And so part of that working group process is to seek community input. And so that's going to be coming up in the very near future. And so I just wanted to kind of mention that to council, as all students, so as well as alumni, as well as staff, will have an input or have an opportunity to provide input. And so if council is agreeable, once that is available, I'd like the opportunity to kind of just send council an email with that information to forward on to your student groups to try to get as much participation in our community input segment of our new team name process. So thank you.
Sounds great, Ryan. Thank you. Yeah, I think I don't see there's no objections, and I think it's great. You can share that information with everyone, and we can get all the counselors to share them with their DSUs. It's important to have everyone's input in this, choosing the new name. But yeah, that draws our meeting to an end here. We're now at 6:01 p.m. And I'm going to call it item 11.4 and 11.5 will be discussed first thing for our next discussion item. Yes, Wei Chan.
Yeah, just a quick comment and a quick question on the team name change. Is there any are they reaching out to SOCA and specifically the organizer who are responsible and really drive that this team name change with Marie, who is the new VP Equity elect as well? I'm just wondering if any reach out to her and SOCA.
It's Ryan.
Certainly happy to kind of answer those questions, but kind of just being cognizant of time, I'm happy to answer those outside of the meeting or even at the next meeting with you, Wei-Chan.
All right, thank you. All right, we are done with that. Item 13 announcements. So we already did 13.1 board management portal consultation. As Gabriel said, please do email if you're interested in being part of this process to select our some new software for us to use for making our meetings more efficient. The more people we do have involved, the better, more inputs. 13.2, our next council meeting is March 17th, everyone. So I will send out the call for agenda items quite soon. Again, please do keep an eye out for that briefing note and be prepared to speak during discussion on our finances. Now to our last item. Printing is off here. Item 14, adjournment. 14.1, be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:03 p.m. Would anyone like to move this motion?
French moves.
French moves. Would anyone like a second?
Mathematics seconds.
Mathematics seconds. Is there any discussion? I think so. All right, so moving once again to seek unanimous consent. Seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please object now. Seeing no objections, this motion passes unanimously. Thank you everyone for coming. Congratulations to Serena for her recommendation. Also, congrats to Serena, one of council's most involved members, for being elected to the executive committee. It's quite exciting to see one of our own up there. And that's it, everyone. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everyone.